What's good, guys? Danton here, and we're back with a brand new Discord bot video. Today we're actually going to go into the version 12 Discord.js library. If you guys aren't familiar, I don't know if you guys know, but it was actually announced a couple months ago that version 12 is slowly coming into a full release. It's not fully released yet, but I think it will be soon. I'm not sure. So don't count me on that. But I actually went into it a little bit. I was looking at it, and I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot of things that are being changed, and I do. It is really interesting the way that they are changing things up a little bit. But we're not going to go too deep into that for now. If you guys want, you can just go ahead and just look through the API and just like check everything for yourself. It shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, but the main thing that I want to talk about in this video are partials, which seem and actually are pretty awesome. Okay, now if you want, let me go ahead and just open up the docs over here. You want to make sure you go to the documentation and you select the master version. So if you see view docs 4 on the top left for main library, you can select whichever version you want. So we're going to click master, and you're going to see partials over here, which is a topic. Okay, and it's actually really cool that they're introducing this new thing. Now, what exactly are partials? Okay, to put it in like this most simplest form, all partials are, it just pretty much is a structure, okay, and that represents uncached instances. Okay, so for example, before when we wanted to make a role reaction bot, we were having trouble because the message reaction add and remove events were not emitted, because if we tried to react to a message that wasn't in the internal cache, they would not be emitted. So we had to use the raw events to do all the parsing, and then emit the event ourselves manually. Okay, which is not recommended because the library doesn't the Discord.js library doesn't support documentation on the raw event, so you shouldn't really be using it in the first place. But we had no choice. But with partials now, it's actually a lot easier, to use partials. We don't have to worry about the raw event. We can do everything with just partials. So if we want to make a role reaction bot, it is so much easier. And they actually do give you a really good example right over here. Okay, and of course, it's not just reactions. You can do it with message, like deleting messages. And there's also a total of 4 partial types. So they have user, channel, guild member. I'm not honestly too sure about the other 3 because I've never really had to work with them before. I think I'm not too sure, but I do know message is going to be really useful because I've used it before for reactions. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to show you guys. So right now, as the time this video is released, version 12 has not been released yet. Okay, so by the time you're watching this video, version 12 may have been released, and there may have been some changes. I don't know, there might be some changes at the time you're watching this, but for people who are watching before version 12, if you want to use it and you don't want to break your current code, what I would recommend is just creating a brand new project, because because if you try to install version 12 into your current bot project right now, it's going to break everything, right? Because a lot of things are being changed from version 11 to version 12. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a new directory, and I'm just going to call this Discord bot DJS v12, and I'm going to cd into that directory, and I'm just going to run npm init-y so I get the package.json file, and I want to install the master branch. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to actually, instead of doing npm install -f save discord.js, we're going to do discord.js / discord.js #master. This is going to install the latest version from the master branch from the GitHub repository. Okay, so if I do that, you're going to see it's going to say discord.js version 12.0.0 -dev, okay, which means that this is the development version, which means there might be some bugs that you might run into, okay, but which is something that you should use at your own risk. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm also going to go ahead and just make a config directory. I'm going to make a source directory to store my bot, and yeah, let's go ahead and I'm gonna grab my bot token real quick. So let me just go ahead and do that, which is should be right over here. Let's do that real quick. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up Visual Studio Code right over here. And inside this config folder, I'm going to create a config.json file. And it's just going to be a JSON object with my bot token because you don't want to expose your bot token in the main entry point of your app, of your bot. Okay, so for example, I'm going to go ahead and just require the, wait, what am I doing? It's const discord equals require discord.js. And I misspelled discord. Misspelled it again. Discord. All right, awesome. And then we're gonna do const client equals new discord.client. Okay. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm just importing the client. Importing the Discord module, and I'm instantiating the client. I'm gonna import the config.json file that we just created. We're gonna have to go back one directory, go into the config directory, and then reference the config.json file. So this is going to load the JSON file, parse it for us, and store it into config constant, so we can actually reference it as if it was an actual JSON object that we created ourselves, like this. All right, it's going to do a simple client on ready event, and as of version 12, they actually have a new property on the user object called tag. So I can go ahead and do something like const.log. Client.user.tag has logged in. So before we had to concatenate the username with the hashtag with the discriminator, but now we can just do client.user.tag and that should log it for us. Okay. So what I'm going to do inside the package.json file is I'm actually going to create a script called dev, and I'm just going to do nodemon source.js. And the reason why I'm doing this is so I can easily just run my bot. So I can do npm run dev, and that's going to run this process over here. Okay, I'm just showing you guys some cool things that you could do for your development that makes things easier. You don't have to do this, obviously, but I just want to introduce new. I always want to be introducing new practices and good practices. Okay, but you can see over here, my bot hashtag 8019 is logged in, and this is a version 12 thing. Okay, so let's get on to the main point of this video. We're going to be talking about partials. Okay, that's the main point. Okay, so in order to actually use partials, what we're going to do is we're going to opt into it. So remember, there are 4 types of partials. There's user, channel, guild, member, and message. We're going to be opting into the message one. To opt in, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the constructor of the client right over here on line 2, discord.client. I'm going to go inside that constructor, and I'm going to pass in an object. That object is actually the client options, and we can specify specific options, specific properties, but I'm only going to specify the partials for now. And over here, I'm just going to pass in the message structure inside the array. Okay, so I'm opting in to the message partial now. So now, whenever an uncached message, I'll show you in just a sec. But basically, whenever we are dealing with messages that are not in the cache, we can actually reference that partials property that's part of the message object, and it's going to give us a Boolean value, okay? And it's going to tell us whether or not this message is a partial or not. And what that means is if it's a partial, that means it's uncached data. If it's not a partial, that means it's in the cache. And I'll show you guys how that works, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to say console.log reaction.emoji.name, okay, just for now. And what I'm going to do is right now I'm restarting the bot, okay? The bot is restarted. Oh, hold on. My terminal's lagging a little bit. I just wanted to restart it just to make sure. It should say client has logged, the bot has logged in. Not sure why. Okay, there we go. Okay, so right now the cache is empty because there's no messages being cached. If I react right now, Python. Okay, so notice how, since I'm reacting right now, Python is being logged, right? Now before, this would not work, right? Before, in order for us to actually get this event to work, for uncached messages, we have to use the raw event to check the emoji. We had to, fetch the message. We had to do all this parsing, do all this fetching, and then we had to manually emit the message reaction add, right? So this would not have been logged to the console. But because we have the partials over here, we're opt-in, this is actually going to be logged, because what's going to happen, so let me actually show you. If I delete that partials part over here, and if I save and restart, okay, now watch this. If I react with this node emoji, notice how nothing's being emitted, right? It might be lagging a little bit, but notice how I'm reacting and nothing's happening, right? Because this message is not cached, and because we're not opted into the partials, it's not going to do anything for us, okay? Now, one more thing I want to show you is reaction.message.partial. Okay, so since we're opting into the message structure, right, message has a property called partial, and it's going to tell us whether or not if it's a partial or not. So let me show you. So if I save, and if I react right now, it's going to say true, right? True means that it's a partial, which means that this is uncached data. So since it's uncached data, what we need to do is we need to actually cache it, okay? So we're going to say if reaction dot message dot partial, what we're going to do is we're going to cache it, okay? So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to say async. I'm going to add the async keyword. So this function, this callback function for the message reaction add handler is now asynchronous. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to await the fetch function. So I'm going to say let message equal await reaction dot message dot fetch. So what we're doing here is we're fetching the message. Okay, so before, in my previous role reaction bot tutorials, if you guys have seen them before, what we had to do was we had to fetch the message from the channel, right? The way it worked was we had to check the emoji name. We had to check the event name first. If the event name was either message reaction add or message reaction remove, we then would have to check if the message was the right one. If that was true, we then had to check if we had to get the channel object. We had to check the channel to see if it had the message in the cache, and if it did, we would return. If it didn't, we would have to fetch that message using the fetch message. And I actually do have the code for Let me show it to you just to show you guys the difference between the previous ones. So before, let me just zoom in a little bit. Before, we had to do all this stuff. We had to use this raw event. We had to check the event name. We had to get the user object. We had to get the channel object. We had to check if the channel's messages cache had that message. Okay, and if it didn't, we had to fetch that message. We then had to get the emoji name and do all this stuff. And it was just like, it wasn't hard, but it was just like, it was just tedious. Okay, and it was also unsupported from the library. But now that we have partials, things are so much easier now. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, we're fetching that message. So now we have that message. Okay, so now watch this. I can now say message.content. Okay, so basically when we call the fetch function, this returns a promise, okay, which resolves the message object. But since we're awaiting it, I'm going to get this message object in this variable over here. So if I go ahead and if I react to a message right now, this message is empty. Okay, it only has an embed. But let me try something else. Let me react to this message. Actually, no, not that one. Let's try this one. Hello. This is not part of the cache, by the way. Okay, but now it's cached because we just fetched it, and it's going to log hello. Okay, same thing over here. If I add a reaction to this one, because of partials, everything is so much easier for us. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and write a simple role reaction bot. We're going to follow the same thing that I did in my previous tutorial. We're going to basically base it off of if the emoji name is the same as the role name, then we're going to give them that role. Okay, so you want to make sure that the emoji name is the same name as the role name. Okay, I'm going to make sure that's 100% clear. The emoji name must be the same as the role name. Okay, and if it's not, you just have to add some conditional statements to check. Okay, now that's not ideal for like if you're making a bot for like multiple servers. You want to obviously set up some kind of not dashboard, but like some kind of menu. So you'd have to like save it to a database, but we're not going to get into that for now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, oh, also, so if the message is not a partial, so if this returns false, so let me show you guys real quick. So after we fetch the message, that message is no longer a partial, not a partial, which means that it's not cached data anymore. Okay, because when you fetch it, it's going to be cached. So watch this. If I react, it's not going to do anything. Hold on, let me try this. So let's do that. Wait, why is that not logging? Oh, I'm not logging anything. That's why. Cached. Let's just do that. Okay, so if I react with this, cached. Okay, so this was a partial. It was uncached data. We called the fetch function on the message property of the reaction object. Okay, so remember this reaction property, this reaction parameter is a message reaction object. Okay, if you want to go to the docs and check it out, you can see message reaction has the property message, and the message property, the message object now as of version 12 has the function fetch, which fetches the message. Okay, so they changed a lot of stuff. Okay, before we would call fetch message on the channel, but now we call fetch on the message object. Okay, and so once you call fetch, it caches the message for you. And so watch this. If I try to react again to this message, let's just say with M, you're going to see it says not a partial, which means that it's not cache data, which means which means that it is cache data, which means it's part of the message store. Okay, so yeah, nothing really is going to be differing between these two. The only difference is that it's either a partial or not. But we're going to have to add the user to the role. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a function up here, apply role, and this is going to be a this actually should be asynchronous function that takes no parameters. So I'm using arrow syntax. Okay, so let apply role, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this apply role function inside inside the conditional statement, depending on whichever one. Okay, so I'm going to say let emoji name equal reaction dot emoji dot name. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the role based on the name. Okay, so they did change the whole thing with they changed a lot of stuff, but before you could reference the role on actually wait. Before, okay, so let me show you guys something real quick. So before on the guild, if I can find it, where is it? So before the roles property was a collection, but more precisely now, it's actually a role store, which is actually still a collection because it extends collection. So we can still call those previous functions. Okay, so we're gonna do let role, but they just changed like a lot of stuff with the whole stores and stuff. But it's nothing too crazy. So we need to get the roles property. So to do that, we're gonna say reaction dot message dot guild dot roles, and we're just gonna say find role. So this is gonna be a predicate. So we're gonna find the role where the role dot name dot two lowercase equals emoji name dot two lowercase. Okay, so if the role actually exists, it's going to return the role object. So we're going to say if role. Then we're also going to need to get the member as well. So I'm going to do it up here. So let's just say let member equal let's see. We're going to say reaction dot message dot guild dot members. And we're also going to do find, but this time we're going to find by the ID. So I'm going to say the predicate function is going to be member ID equals user.id. Okay, and that's going to return a member object if it actually exists in the guild. So if role and member, we're going to say, just do a simple log, role and member found. Okay, and we're just going to apply the role to them. Okay, so I'm just gonna do await member dot. So before you would do member dot add role, but as of version 12, it's actually member dot roles dot add. So before you do member dot add role in the previous version, and that would give the role to the guild member. But again, they changed a lot of stuff, and they're trying to use stores. So basically, the guild member object has a property called roles, which is a guild member role store, and it also extends collection. Okay, and it has a couple properties and a couple methods. So it has the add method, and to add the role, you're gonna need to add it to that guild member role store. Okay, so we're just gonna pass in the role resolvable, which is either an ID or the it's gonna be either a role resolvable, array of role resolvables, or a collection of snowflake and roles. Okay. All right. So for a role resolvable, it can either be the role itself or the ID. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. And I'm gonna just say done. All right. And I should actually let me actually do something real quick. I'm gonna wrap this in a try catch because we are using async await, and you always want to make sure you're handling your errors because potential errors could happen. And I should do that here as well. Just gonna do that real quick. And common errors are usually because of no permissions. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and try this out now. So we're gonna have to go ahead and call the apply role function. Okay, so let's try it out right now. So I have a couple roles. And once again, remember, this only works if the emoji name is the same name as the role name. Okay. So right now, this will actually work if I react with any message, but we should probably check to see if the message is the correct one. So I'm actually going to copy the ID of this message in the role menu channel, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's see. What do I want to do? Okay, so inside the apply role function, wait a minute. We're gonna say if reaction.message okay, yeah, we need to make sure it's a partial. Okay, so if it's a partial, then we're gonna need to check it. So I think we'll check that inside here. If hold on, I'm like blanking out right now. Okay, yeah, we fetched it already. So we're just gonna say if message dot ID, then we're gonna call apply role. Okay, and same thing over here, but this time instead of doing a message.id, we're gonna do if reaction.message.id, and it's gonna be this over here. And then we're gonna call apply role. All right, let's try this. Let's try this again. So if I react to this one, this shouldn't do anything. Nothing's being logged. But if I react to this one now, what happened? Did I? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I copied the. Hold on. Okay. Message ID. All right, let's try this again. Why is that not doing anything? It is a partial. Yes, it's a partial. All right, so we're gonna try await reaction message fetch. Okay. So if message ID what is the ID of this message? It should be the correct one. Well, I think it's a string, actually. I think it's a string. Yeah, my bad. I fucked up. There we go. Yeah, I messed up. Yeah, it's supposed to be a string. Okay. There we go. So here we're just making sure that's the correct message. So I give Java, if I give Python, that's gonna give me the Python role. So obviously if I unreact right now, it's not gonna give me anything. But we're gonna implement that real quick. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just do the same thing. I'm gonna do client on message reaction remove, and we're gonna go ahead and do reaction.user. It takes in the same parameters, and yeah, the same thing applies. We need to check if it's a partial, and if it is a partial, we're just gonna delete. We're just gonna do the same exact thing. So you can honestly just copy and paste all this code inside here. The only thing we're gonna change is instead of calling apply role, let's just call it remove role. And we're just gonna call that, and everything else should be the same. Let's try this out. Let's unreact. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, hold on, I messed up. Wait, what? Oh wait, oh wait, there we go. All right, now this should work. Okay. Python. Take that away. Hold on, role member found. Okay, so we have all the roles. Done. Should have taken away. Hold on. Oh wait, I forgot to change. I completely forgot. I'm like rushing it so badly. Okay. Inside remove role, what we need to do is we need to actually remove the role. So you're gonna go inside this try catch over here, inside this if role and member. So instead of adding it, we're just gonna call the remove role. So that's gonna remove the role from the role store. Okay, and that should do the trick. So if I unreact now, that removes the Python role and removes the Java role. I have to react again, and that removed all the roles. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Let me just zoom out a little bit. How many lines of code is this? This is roughly 95. Of course, with the try catch and the the function, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, honestly I feel like this is so much better. It's so much better than using the raw event, because you don't have to worry about that, and it's not supported with the document. It's not supported by Discord.js as well. So if you have trouble, you're probably not going to get any help from who knows what. But yeah, so I mean, this is how you can use partials for role reaction bots. So yeah, hopefully this video made sense. Again, I would highly recommend playing around with it, because version 12 is probably going to come out soon. I don't know when, but it is going to come out eventually. And yeah, so if you guys also need any help with just programming, or any questions that you might have with Discord.js, or just programming bots in general, I highly recommend just checking my server, joining it, asking a couple questions if you just need help. It's pretty active, and there's people asking questions all the time. And whenever I have a chance, which is majority of the time, I usually try to answer as much questions as possible. So definitely join my server, say hello, check it out. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. All right, so yeah, if you guys have any other questions, just let me know. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.